It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word.
We on a mission and that's bringing y'all the truth. You know the problem, but we get into the root. The devil watching, yeah, he always on pursuit. But Jesus is our rock, so we shall not be moved. We on a winning team, so we can't lose. We say facts, cause we hitting y'all with proof. Started from the bottom, now we standing on the roof. As God as our witness, we gon' make it to the moon. When you want the truth, the world be hiding it. This the real word, we providing it. We got Ace, BK, Truth, Rick Star, and we plan to make a movie like it's Pixar. We came a long way from the plantation. We just tryna save your souls from damnation. So if you down with the message, tune in every week. It will lead you to the message that you seek.
It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real word.
Welcome to the Real Word Season 9, Episode 27. Shout out to everybody that's been watching. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting. Shout out to everybody that's helped us to get this far so far. Shout out to everybody that has been watching us on the Brick Network every Tuesday and Thursday at 12, 1, and at 4 p.m. Shout out to everybody that watches us on the Bronx Net. Shout out to everybody in the Bronx, BX Stand Up. Shout out to everybody that subscribes to our YouTube. That's www.youtube.com/The Real Word TV. That's The Real Word TV, one word on YouTube. The Real Word 7, like the number 7 on Mike Vick. Facebook.com/The Real Word 7, or The Real Word Ministries on Facebook, at The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Instagram. And if you want to donate, $ The Real Word Inc. That's $ The Real Word Inc. Or check out our official website at www.therealwordministriesinc.org. That's therealwordministriesinc.org. Or Google us. I'm your host, Rickard, Jean-Noel. I'm here with a new co-host. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katya Joseph, Kat for short. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. Shout out to Kat for being here with us today. And shout out to all of you for joining us. Kat, you just had an event the other day. Tell the people about your event that you had.
Well, actually, upcoming event.
Okay.
Yes, I have an art exhibit on November 4th. I'm really excited about that. I'm an artist, I'm a painter, and I'm going to be celebrating and talking about Black maternal health, and I'll have my artwork available for purchase, of course, open exhibit, but in addition, I'm going to be doing workshops for expecting moms. We're going to be talking about prenatal care. I have some doulas coming out. There's going to be a doula meet and greet in Queens, and so I'm excited about it.
Wait, for the people that don't know what a doula is, what is a doula?
Oh my goodness. So doulas are support for moms before they give birth, during the birthing process, and after the birthing process. They're not doctors, but they're there to advocate for moms. And I am a huge advocate of all things Black maternal health. And so really pushing that in the Black community. Unfortunately, there's a really high risk for moms when they're giving birth and in pregnancy. And so, you should definitely look into having a doula, a midwife, to support moms during that process, just to make sure you have somebody that speaks up for you. Unfortunately, moms kind of get quiet or silenced during that process. And so just somebody to make sure that they're good, cover, and even support, even medically at times, even though they're not doctors. So, yeah.
So I'm guessing whenever you give birth, you would want a doula present?
Absolutely. Hands down.
So what do you feel like would be the difference of having one and not having one?
So I think one of the biggest things is literally having a voice. Clearly, everyone knows it's an emotional process for moms. Literally, physically, you're going through a lot of different emotions. And we know about things like depression and stuff that happens. There are medical issues that happen, right? Sickness and disease and things like that happen when moms are pregnant. And what the doula does literally is like a voice for the mom. So in addition to kind of checking in before the process, right? Hey, mom, what do you need? What are your likes and dislikes? What's your goal? How do you want to give birth? What position do you want to be in? What should the doctors know about you? Things like that. What happens is for the actual process, in addition to preparing the mom, right? Maybe stretches or things like that, making sure mom is comfortable. During the actual birthing process, the doula is usually there with the mom to make sure that she's okay, to speak on her behalf to the nurses, to speak on her behalf to the doctors. For example, if the mom's main doctor isn't the one that's there for the birthing process, the doula is usually there as a reminder, like, hey, by the way, mom wanted it to look like this or to be like this. they kind of are a little bit more of a confidence boost too. Sometimes, we get a little, I don't know, almost like starstruck. Like we get nervous speaking to medical professionals, to doctors and things like that. And so the doula is like the middleman to kind of step up on behalf of mom or on behalf of the family and to speak up for her. So yeah, I think it's a huge difference. It's just nice to have another person advocating. It's not like you against all of the medical professionals. You have somebody else in the room that's on your side that has your back too.
So you would have to give them, I guess, legal right to be in the room at the time.
Yeah, at that point, it's the mom that gives the person authority to be in the room with them.
Okay, I get
during
it.
the process. Yeah.
The only reason why I ask is because I know sometimes they're real sensitive when it comes to who's in the room and who's not in the room during the birth.
Yeah, I don't know what it is now. I know things got really stringent, especially during COVID, right? So that changed it up. I know of certain people, different circumstances where moms had to decide, right? Because you kind of had to choose. Is it going to be maybe the spouse or the partner? Is it going to be your doula or maybe a parent? So I know that that's changed. I believe it's a little bit more lenient again after COVID, now that things have calmed down a little bit. But yeah, mom gets to decide who's in there with her. And I am, once again, a huge advocate for doulas to support during that process.
So, what was your motivation for having the art, what would you call it, art expo?
Art exhibit.
Art exhibit expo, centered around Black maternity. What I usually hear is that Black women are like almost twice as likely to die during childbirth than the white women. They don't give Black women anesthesia as much as white people because they feel like Black people could take more pain. Supposedly, I mean, these are things I've heard. I don't know how true it is,
So yes, studies do show that. Unfortunately, for a lot of patients, when it comes to Black patients, they're just not given the same care. Like you said, the assumption is that Blacks have just a stronger threshold. And so it seems as though Black, for example, talking about Black maternal health, moms aren't given the same amount of medication, or they're not taken seriously, right? When they're like, I'm in pain, the assumption is that they can handle it, or, that they're exaggerating or that they're going to be fine. And so my inspiration in doing this exhibit, I'm going to say first is faith. Definitely God. I think God kind of pointed me in this direction and brought me here. I always have been an advocate for all things Black community, and so I enjoy spotlighting the Black community in this way. But I think in the last few years, especially, I've had a lot more women open up to me about their birthing experiences. One of my cousins who has been extremely open with me about her experience, her birthing process. She has 3 beautiful boys. Shout out to Rachel. And she's currently a doula student. Right? She's an advocate for Black maternal health. She's also a doula student. Another one of my closest sister friends, Karma, is a doula and has always operated in this world. I was a yoga instructor next to her, and so she always did pre-yoga and things like that. And now she's a lactation consultant and all of that. And so I just think as of late, there have been so many other women around me that have opened up about their process and shared with me the good parts and the bad parts of it. And so it just seemed like it was the right time to spotlight it and, do my part, that I am not a doula. So that I'm clear, I'm not a doula, I'm not a midwife, I am not a medical professional in any way. But what I can contribute is my artwork. I enjoy spotlighting Black women in this way. And so
let me ask you a question. How do you feel about childbirth now? Hearing all of this, do you look forward to it?
So I think it makes me cautious. I've always wanted the experience, right? I've always been the the little girl who's imagined that being a mom and all those kind of things. My mental change, but it's made me a lot more cautious. I know that it's not an easy process. More realistic about and making sure I'm educated. I think that's been a really big part of the process and what I've learned just about women feeling like they weren't educated or informed about their options or that they could choose, you know, like, and so that just makes me a lot more cautious. It makes me want to be a lot more aware before I step into that space.
Do you think that's true though?
That they're not educated or informed?
Yeah.
Because I think about it even for myself, right? Like, my first GYN appointment, I was an adult, right? Like, you know, like in your mind, you have all of these false ideas of why you go. And so it's like, okay, well, if you're not out in these streets, there's no reason for me to go there's no reason for you to get checked out. And so we just have a lot of false ideas about our own bodies even, and about the medical profession in general. And so, yeah, I don't think we're informed. I think about the difference, even for me, the difference between three different GYNs that I've experienced at this point of my life. And even the bedside manners, you know, like it can just be really callous. They can be really like, oh, well, this is just what it is, and walk away. And you have no idea, right? They'll speak at you medical terms that you've never heard of before.
Just walk off.
Yeah, and walk out the room, and you're there, you know, guessing, trying to Google it on your phone before they come back, trying to figure it out. So yeah, I think it's absolutely true.
Yeah, but after a while, you know, it's just like there are people doing a job just like everybody else doing a job. And if you think about it, like me, at my particular place of employment, we have over 200 clients. So it's like, imagine seeing 20, 30 people a day and they're all complaining. And you like, after you see the 20 person, you're gonna be like, all right. And they're like, are you listening? Are you listening? You're like, yeah, I'm listening, but I've heard this 20 times before you walked in.
Right.
So it's like, really? Like, okay, this is what it is. Take care of it. I'll see you later. Like, it's more so a you problem than a me problem. You can't put it on me.
That's the part that's tricky, right? It's like, I don't expect for you to solve the problem, right? Like, you can't take care of my body for me. That's different. But to inform me, it is your job. Yeah. Like, literally, that is your job.
Yeah, but they did technically inform you.
But of what? But I think that's where the gap is, right? So it's like, for example, if I come in, if I think that I'm pregnant, right? And I come in and I'm like, hey, I'm having these pains. I think I'm pregnant. They do the test. And like, okay, yeah, you are pregnant. And I'm like, okay, but I'm in pain, right? It is your job as my doctor then to say, okay, well, let's figure out where the pain is coming from, right? To the best of your ability. Yeah. And then if you figure out what the pain is, let's say another huge issue, and I mean, amongst women in general, but especially Black women, fibroids, right? Okay, you have these large fibroids. If I don't know what a fibroid is, if I've never heard of a fibroid before, then yeah, I do expect for you as my doctor to help me to understand that, or what my options are. I think, for example, there are doctors that are literally coming and be like, oh, your fibroids are huge. We should just take them out. Let's do surgery. And if I don't know any better, I'll say, okay, yeah, put me under the knife, not realizing there are other options for me.
Such as?
There are medications that you can take when it comes to fibroids. Depending on where the fibroids are or the size of the fibroids, maybe you can leave them alone completely.
What is fibroids?
Oh gosh, once again, I'm not a medical professional. But in very simple terms, I'll just explain it as a growth that females sometimes develop.
Inside the vagina?
In the uterus at times, right? And so, like I have fibroids, right? Fibroids are huge. Like, it happens often for women in my family. And even knowing that, like, okay, we have fibroids, but
the thing is, sometimes from what I hear about fibroids, sometimes it makes it hard to have children, and then sometimes it makes sex painful.
Exactly, depending on where they are, the size of them, how many you have. Yeah, it completely shifts the
and
scenario
the size of
for
the penis, from what I heard from women.
Well, I mean, yeah, that will determine pain for a lot of different reasons in addition to fibroids, right? But I guess that's exactly my point. Right? Like, okay, you come in, you're like, oh yeah, you have fibroids. Okay, now what? Right? Like, if you are my GYN, if you are my gynecologist, then I would expect for you, hopefully, to give me a little more than that. Like, oh yeah, you got fibroids. Well, good meeting. You know, like, what am I supposed to do with that? Yeah. So, we're human. I get it that they may not necessarily be kind and loving and sweet, and they may not hug you, but
and they be going through a lot. Like, you ever heard of the song "World of Temptation"? And then they talking about it's a song by Nas, and in the song by Nas, he's talking about there's a woman that's going through operation, that's having a baby as a result of rape, and she's in the she's in the operating room with a doctor. The doctor's dealing with a divorce because his wife was having an affair, and he's plotting on killing his wife. And at the same time, he's doing this surgery on the lady, and it's like all this going on. Then there's a football player that Nas is sleeping with his wife while the guy's rushing on the 30-yard line, but that guy's all sleeping with other women too, and it's crazy. And it's like, this is all the things that the doctors be going through for real.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, generally speaking, women like men that make a lot of money. But the thing about men that make a lot of money, they're not available. Like, they're always busy. Now it's like, you make all this money.
Wait a minute. No, because now we're going left. Okay,
go ahead.
Wait.
Go ahead, let me hear this.
Because now we're going, I don't want to take us off topic.
Okay, go ahead.
But the doctor being unavailable, what does that have to do with the fact that you're still my doctor in this moment during this appointment?
Wait, no, that's not what we talking about. I'm talking about the doctor. The doctor is unavailable. No, the doctor spends a lot of time in the hospital, so he's unavailable for his family, which causes issues in his home.
He's stressed out.
And then when he comes to work, he's stressed out. So when he has to deal with you, he's like, damn, I'm not trying to deal with this. I'm just trying to get through the day because there's so much stress in my life.
Understood. It don't change the fact that it's still your job.
But
right? I'm all for grace, right? I'm not saying every time you come in here, you got to set me up right, pat me on the back, give me a hug, right? Like, exactly. I'm not expecting that. I understand that people are human. And so we all should be able to offer grace to each other. But to me, I expect for you to show up for your job as my doctor the same way I expect for you to show up for me as my cashier at the grocery store. The same way. I'm not bothering you. Your job is cashier. I understand that you could be going through it and life is stressful for you too. It don't change the fact that you still showed up for your job.
Yeah. I feel like lately, the hospitals are trash.
It's rough. It's rough. Trash.
The other day I went to the hospital because I had a ringing in my ear, right? And I had this ringing in my ear for 2 days, like to the point where it gave me a headache. I ended up going to Beth Israel Hospital. Yeah, I'm going to shout y'all out. So I went there. I got there like around, I dropped off my kid, came back home, got dressed, went there. So yeah, I got there like around 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay.
I didn't get out of there till like 2:30. And they put me on a quote-unquote fast track.
Yeah.
The fast track is when they got like 6 beds lined up on the side, like right when you come into the emergency room. And there's only a curtain separating you. And then they put the rest of the people sitting in chairs. So half the people's in beds, half the people in chairs. And they come over and they ask you personal questions. Like, how many people have you had sex with in the last 3 months? They're like,
right here, and you're like, really? Right here.
And I had to tell him, I'm like, yo, you ask me very personal questions in a public setting. And I know the guy across from me is listening to my whole conversation because he was just in the next person conversation asking if they want a personal injury lawyer. So I know this nigga listening to my conversation. No. So I'm looking at him, I'm looking at her. I'm like, miss, like, what's good with you? And she's like, oh, so I don't know. So what you want to do? Like, I know the air is ringing, but since you're here, you want to take an HIV test? I'm like, yeah, so you can tell my results in front of everybody. She's like, oh, no, since you're here already. So I'm like, whatever, let's just do it.
2 birds in 1 stone.
Yeah. So like she just sticks me with a needle in front of everybody. Blood is draining out my head. Everybody just sitting there looking at me. I'm looking at them. And then she comes back an hour later. She's like, it's negative. I'm like, you don't know how to whisper. And I'm like, yo. In my mind, I'm like, what if it was positive? Then what? Like, yeah, this is for you. And the rest of the 6 people looking like.
Everybody wait to see.
I'm like, yo. Yeah. Then after all that times, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. After 4 hours, they come to me and was like, hey, you got tenderitis in the ear. Tenderitis in the ear. Basically ringing in the ear. Like, I could have said that myself. I could have Googled that. Like,
what do I do? What happens now?
And I'm like, y'all gonna give me medication? Are you gonna give me some pills? Are you gonna do anything? Give me a prescription? She's like, no. She's like, here's a paper. You could go see a specialist in a week if it doesn't go away. And I'm like, so I sat here for 4 hours. I know you're gonna bill my insurance thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that part.
So it's like, what was all this for? And she's like, things have been kind of rough here in the hospitals, blah, blah. So, it was busy. And I'm like, honestly, lady, I walked around the whole emergency room. It's just a bunch of old people yelling. Because They don't have a maternity.
Not the judge,
They don't have a maternity. They don't have a trauma unit. So they only have for what's that word? Geriatric for old people and for like small emergencies. Like if you could walk your way into the emergency room, then you can go. Other than that, they don't have nothing else over there. I only go there because it's a small private hospital and they're supposed to be faster than the bigger hospitals.
It didn't quite work out that way for you this last time, huh?
No, it did not.
All right, everywhere is better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant. You know why? Because he knows that there's no privacy. I get to hear everybody's everything. He's smart.
Mm. I
don't. But the same way that you is right, and then like you said, it's like $1,000. Like you're doing all of this at the very least. I just want to answer. Can you help me out? Look, can you just? I don't know.
I could have told myself my ear was ringing. I could hear my ear ringing. You know.
True. I mean, okay, and that's also separate because we can't necessarily control what the answer is, right? Because the reality is they could have said they didn't have an answer for you, so that's different. No, I know you still.
Technically, they didn't have an answer.
Right.
They looked in my ear and it's like everything looks normal. We don't know what it is.
You gotta go to a specialist.
Yeah.
It's outside of their scope.
Yeah.
Right.
And today I brought my daughter to a specialist, and you know how much that co-payment was? $220 out of pocket. Because they said I didn't.
On top of whatever else.
Yep. Because they said I didn't hit the deductible threshold for specialist.
Trash.
And you know what the specialist said? Your daughter's eyes are fine. So I paid you $220 just to tell me that, lady. like
part of the game.
Yo, and she's like, come back 6 months later, give me another $220.
Part of the game. Which is exactly why it's helpful to have advocates. You know, like sometimes it's helpful to have somebody that knows a little bit more than you to be able to stand in the gap and say, all right, let me ask the right questions that you don't know to ask, or. You know, like, without you having to go to school to figure it out.
I think for us as the middle class, that's trash. Because the people all at the bottom, they get the free, everything free. They get the Medicaid.
Well, yeah, but Medicaid, it don't always work out for you.
True. But at least they could go see their doctors for free. And the people all at the top, they got the private personal doctors.
You can see it for free. The answers are going to be the same.
Yeah. I mean,
right? Like, you think about it. The money's being shelled out. Either which way. They got to go for free. But the money was still paid.
By us.
The doctor still paid. The answer's still the same, though, is what I'm trying to tell you.
But
the doctor who walks out and still was like, yeah, your ear was ringing. The doctor said the same thing to the other person, whether they paid directly or not.
At least they didn't have to pay out of pocket and they get to save their money.
What money? If they had the money.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Perfect example. If they had to go to a specialist, they wouldn't be paying $220 out their pocket like I had to pay.
Okay. And would they make it to a specialist?
They can, yeah. If they get the referral, as long as they get the referral and it's in network, they'll go see a specialist.
But I say that and I say that just because when we're talking about as simple as the haves and the have-nots, I'll put it that way. Those that have not, it's rare that. Because typically I feel like when we talk about it, like, oh, but everything for those that, you know, are living on government assistance just get stuff for free or they just have access. And that's not the case. There's a small group that takes advantage. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
But that's not the majority. If you have not, then you also lack the resources to make it to the specialist, the time to be able to do it. A lot of folks that are working, like I think about the communities even that I've been in, like when they're working their tail off, even for me, working in New York, I was working full-time at Chelsea Pier Sports and Entertainment Complex, right? Multi-million-dollar entity. I'm getting paid pennies on the dollar I applied, this was back in 2000, maybe like 15 or 16. I applied for affordable housing. I got denied because I didn't make enough. Not because I made too much, because I didn't make enough for affordable housing.
But that's relative. It depends on whose idea of affordable it is.
I agree with you, but I feel that it's the same thing when we talk about those that have and those that don't have, right? Like, oh, well, they just get everything for free. Not necessarily true, right? Like, they're working. There are a lot of folks that don't desire to be in the position that they're in. And unfortunately, what we consider poverty in, I'll even say New York, not even the United States, what we consider, I don't know what it is as of 2023, but the poverty line is so low. It would be silly to say that, like, oh, as if they're just living this luxurious life because they don't have to pay for the doctor. But even don't ever make it to the doctor, right? Like, their health conditions are also trash. They're not making it to the doctor that they don't have to pay for.
I can't say that because, like, say, for example, if they're part of a social service network, like, let's just say the people in the shelter, that everything is paid by the government, from their beds to the food, to also food stamps, public assistance shelter. They're in a shelter for 90 days. They get a homeless voucher. The vouchers, right now, the voucher for one person, for one bedroom, is covering up to 22.8 or 20-something 8.
Okay.
So these homeless people could afford apartments that working people can't afford.
Okay.
Off their voucher right now. So that's the part I'm saying. And then also in the shelter, we have a whole clinic within the shelter. So they have a nurse practitioner, they got a nurse psych, they got a medical assistant that administers medication. If they have a medical emergency, staff will call and send them to the hospital. So, and the caseworker makes appointments for them to go see their doctors and their psych.
Okay.
So all of that is handled for them. Some of them, once they move out, if they're like low functioning, then they get put into something that's called supportive housing, where there's also caseworkers that work in the place where they live.
When you say low functioning, do you mean like if they're on like the spectrum, or if they have like what
Yes, if they're on the spectrum, and also if they have a serious mental illness like schizophrenia, or if they have prolonged drug use, which causes them to have a delay, like either a cognitive delay, or if they're unable to if they have poor ADLs, are unable to do regular things like, feed themselves, bathe themselves, things like that.
Gotcha.
And so they need people to constantly check up on them and put them on the proper line. When I was working in the Bronx, we was working with people that lived under the 200% poverty level. Those were people for a family of at least 2-3 people. That was anything under $19,000. For a single person, it was between $15,000 and under. So we worked with people that was making between $12,000 to $15,000 a year, which means their lives were fully subsidized.
Okay.
Most majority of the time, they couldn't even afford their rent. They would have to go into arrears and then go back to human resources to get what's called a one-shot deal, where human resources just pay off all their rent just to keep them from going homeless again.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've seen how some of these people live. Like, some of these people, like, they abuse the system. Like, they'll go into arrears for, like, I think the biggest case I ever handled was someone that owed $48,000 in back rent. And they was on full government assistance, and they were stripping on the side. And they still owed the money.
I mean, the reality is, there are plenty, I think, that do abuse the system. I just don't think it's fair to say that that's in everybody.
No, you can't say everybody. A good amount. Some people, all they know is abusing the system. That's all they know.
Which is a whole other conversation, right? Like the habits and things that you're used to. If it's the only thing that you know, how do you break the cycle if it's the only thing that you're familiar with? Which is a whole other conversation. But outside of the folks that are abusing the system, do I think it's unfair that there are folks that don't have to pay for medical assistance or for social services? Not necessarily. I mean, I don't. I think it has its place. I just think we have clearly a very imperfect system. But I think social services has their place. I think, Medicaid, Medicare, healthcare in that way has its place. We just happen to have a very corrupt system. And so who gets access to what? Is it fair? That part's debatable. That's debatable.
So overall, like, tell the people a little bit about yourself, because yeah, we dove into, you're into art, you're doing this wellness, you're also into dance. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so let's see. How do I round this out to make it all make sense? So, my company is K for Creative Inc. We are Art in Motion. So, what I do personally is I paint and I dance. I've been a dancer for almost my whole life. And what that looks like in terms of how I work and in terms of my business, definitely wellness and whatever I can use to empower and represent the Black community. So that's in performances. Annually, I do my own art exhibit and performance where I, alongside other freelance dancers, usually there's some sort of grand storyline. Usually my mind goes all over the place. But once a year, I do an art exhibit and a performance. And then outside of that, usually it's just kind of gigs. Folks will hire me to dance independently, to do solos. Folks will hire me within groups. I have, why is the word gone from me? Private clients, Jesus. That'll hire me for different things like wedding dances, like the first dance for the couple, or mother-son. I have a client right now I'm doing for her and her 2 sons for her wedding coming up in February. So dance kind of full, whatever, it just kind of spreads the full gamut. It just depends on what the community needs. And then I just try my best to kind of put them both under one umbrella to support the community as best I can. And then I am really big on kind of pushing messages. So usually in some way, shape, or form, it is speaking for, kind of educating, informing. Maybe there's a need that I find is really great in the community at the time that I'm doing the exhibit. And that'll be my focus.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what you feel like has been the most rewarding thing since you started this company?
The most rewarding, 2 things come to mind. The first thing I'll say definitely is people's feedback. The art exhibits and the performances that I've been able to do, it's really dope to kind of set the environment and set the atmosphere up. Like, it's one of those things I ask people for their feedback after the fact, and like it's hard to describe. You have to be in the space. So I enjoy creating a safe space where people kind of get to come and be their full emotional selves and embrace and be a part of the show in whatever way. And they get to walk away and say, oh my gosh, that piece moved me. Or how do you know that I was going through that? Or those kind of things. Absolutely. People's feedback, when people are blessed by whatever it is that God has done through the performance, that hits home. The second thing that comes to mind is I thoroughly enjoyed working on Rikers Island. Thoroughly. I miss it.
You worked with the women on Rikers or with the men?
Both.
Oh, wow. So tell us about that experience.
So I started by working with the women population, the young women.
The Rosies?
Yes. Rosie Singer, yes. I was working with the young adult group. So before they started to move them off of the island, that like 16 to 21 year old range. And it started off with dance. I was teaching dance, and it was great. The experience was interesting because, they don't give you all the information. So I didn't know necessarily what I was stepping into. And I remember there was one student that I had in particular. And my first day with her, I go in, she's in a dormitory by herself, right? There's just one correctional officer. They have the gate, they open it up, let me in, and it's just her by herself. And I go and introduce myself, and I have all these conversations. She's not interested in anything I have to say at all. She's ignoring me, not interested. And I was like, well, it's you and me together, whether we dance or not, I'm hanging out with you. And at one point, officers come in, and they chain her up. Feet, hands, right, the full face, all of it. And I was like, y'all do this to everybody? Like, what's going on here? Like, no, she's violent. I was like, y'all didn't think you should tell me that before you set me in here by myself? But she ended up being probably one of my best students. We had a great time. I felt like we were ready to kind of break the wall down, and we go in there and dance and sweat. And I think it was a really dope release. Like, it was a great outlet for her. I'd come in, if they would tell me she was acting up or something, I'd be like, we can't get started till you apologize. Go over there and say, like that kind of thing. And so that was great.
What's your favorite type of dance?
We did a lot of like West African and Caribbean, like dance hall, stuff like that.
Okay.
And we used to dance. I had her for 2 hours straight anytime I came in, and we would dance the whole time, which was dope. The guys were different. I was not dancing with the guys. Absolutely
they were thirsty,
not.
yeah.
Absolutely not. I went in there. That was the point, and I was like, no, all of y'all sit down. This is not. There's no way. But it was fun. It was also amazing to kind of get the human side, right? Like everybody has these ideas. You're working at Rikers, don't do it. Why would you want to be at Rikers? But I can't say I made friends, but we got along well enough where I was never worried. I was never in fear. They were amazing. If there were fights, honestly, the inmates protected me. You know, like they would kind of look out for me or pull me to the side or make sure I was good. So we got along. I think we got along really well. And it was great.
How'd you get into that? Like working on records?
So I did a lot of contract work for other companies. So there was another company that I actually used to work with in schools, Elite Learners. And I was working with them in schools, and they had approached me and said they had gotten this agreement with Rikers and wanted to know if I was interested. I was like, I've never done it before, but I'm open. I'd love to give it a try. And honestly, they didn't have, at the time, I don't know what they're doing now, but at the time, they didn't have the staff that was interested in going to Rikers. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it just kind of took off from there. Absolutely loved it. What was rough about working at Rikers was I don't think they ever allowed for programs to, well, let me not say ever, in my experience, for programs to kind of be fully fleshed out. Like I feel like they always moved me too early to a different building or to a different group, and that was really hard because I just felt like I never got to, like finish. I never got to say goodbyes, just stuff like that. I feel like they just kind of stripped you and moved you to wherever they felt like the next need was.
Oh, so they didn't tell you when they were going to move you?
No, it literally would be like I'd show up and it was like, you got a different group or assignment, and it was like, okay, and now I'm taking a bus to a different building.
Okay.
Yeah, so that sucked.
I had a different experience on Rikers.
Please tell me about yours.
No, mine just so I had a friend that was got you fly. So I had a friend that was locked up on Rikers. He was using Rikers for at least 4 years, I believe. And taking I used to have to walk from my house to Rockaway Parkway, and then from Rockaway Parkway I would take the L train. So I think the R, was it the R or the Q? One of those trains, one of those yellow trains. Then I would get off in Queens. Then I had to take 2 buses. Because I would have to take one bus, and then I would have to take the bus that's like right across the street from the Rikers that go over the bridge.
That takes you over the bridge, yeah.
Yeah, so that trip alone. Then once you get on Rikers, you have to take a strip, take off your clothes, go through that thing. Now they got dogs that go between your legs and stuff. That smell you now.
Different experience.
And then after that, you sit in the room for about 30 minutes. They move you to another room. You sit in that room for another 30 minutes. They move you to another room. You sit in that room for like an hour. Then they put you in this big room with everybody. And then you see your peoples for like 30 minutes to an hour. And then you got to do the whole process to get home. It used to suck when it was cold because that trip is brick over there. It's brick, man. This is like cold that you feel in your bones, and the smell. Like it reminds me just like the shelter. Those hard marble cold floors and walls, and that thick, nasty, musky smell that doesn't go away.
I do. I know exactly what you're talking
about. Yeah, they all have that same smell, and they all got those sticky walls and doors, like the sticky walls and doors, like jails, shelters, hospitals, and schools. Yeah, unfortunately, they all.
Which is a shame, right? Yeah. Like when you look, those shouldn't all be in the same category, like the same list, but yeah.
It's like the same person built all of them almost.
Same system, dude.
Yeah, so it's like, sheesh, like.
Yeah, your experience was definitely very different from mine.
Yeah.
I'm grateful, right? Because that was my Rikers experience. I've never gone to Rikers to visit somebody in that way. And yeah, I think Rikers also my mentality was, I'll typically go into spaces like, well, how can I
help,
definitely, but like shift, like I try as best, especially when people are purposefully like, don't do it, it's bad, don't go there. I'm like, what do you know? And my mother actually was a nurse on Rikers for years.
And how was that experience, man? She ever told you about it?
Yeah, I know she had been through some stuff, right? She's gone through her inmates, spitting on her and all that kind of stuff, and attacking or violent or whatever the case may be.
Inmates like to get sexual in medical for some reason. In the shelter, they used to always go in, like when I worked in Fort Washington men's shelter, and in Manhattan, we used to always have P1s, priority ones, for sexual, and it used to be always guys going into medical and just taking out their penis and jerking off.
Trying to take advantage, or maybe also that's the one place, right? Like you feel like you can get away with it.
And there's a lot of women.
Exactly. Like you get a little bit more room to operate and to move because, oh no, I'm not gonna say that, but
let me not finish my statement. The nurses be wearing them tight pants nowadays, man. Y'all be wearing them custom things on now.
I'm not a nurse, but I fight back on that statement, okay? Because
you ain't seen the new what's those things called? Those
scrubs.
You seen the new fashionable scrubs? Them new scrubs that they be wearing?
I think they're cute.
You know what I'm talking about there. You know what I'm talking about. Women be wearing the one that make their butt look fat, all that. Like
but
come
everybody in fitted, scrubs.
Yeah,
and I can say that because I think about it. It does not matter what. First of all, it don't matter what you have on.
I feel like now the nurses are wearing more sexual scrubs. I feel like not sexual, like fitted. More fitted, more tight, and then on top of that, there's like Fashion Nova scrub companies now, almost
everybody got their own little scrub company.
Yeah, and it's like, and I see these nurses. The other day I was in the hospital. I was like, yo, what's going on? It's like all these nurses got BBLs. They got custom made scrubs. Like, it was like, yo,
waist are cinched. Okay.
I'm like, yo, these doctors are having too much fun. Like,
I can't speak on that. I'm not a nurse. So I don't know. I do. I mean, I have a family full of nurses, so I do think about the scrub. I think they're cute. That's all I'm gonna say.
So you know what I'm talking about.
For it or against it.
So you know what I'm talking about.
I have an idea. I do. I mean, in general, yes, scrubs are definitely a lot more fitted now than they were.
And the nurses have a lot back there than they did before.
I don't know if they got more than before. I'm just thinking about you can see it more. Because my family, I mean, they got body. They ain't nobody in my family bought theirs. They came with them. They came with them. It's just, voluptuously blessed. And if your stuff is a little more fitted, now you can see it. Now you can see it. But I'm just saying, it didn't make a difference. Because when I went into the men's jail, it didn't matter what I had on.
Yeah.
Fitted or not fitted, sweatpants or not, you walk in and it was just a female. They were like my wife. And I was like, if y'all get out my face.
Yeah, because they thirsty though. Exactly. They're in jail. That's different. That's different. These nurses are looking for attention in the medical spot. Because even the guys are wearing muscular scrubs with the jogger pants scrubs at the bottom.
But that's what I'm saying. I feel like for everybody, they're more fitted. In my mind, this is my devil's advocate, response.
Okay.
I also think it's easier to maneuver when my clothes are fitted. Here's why.
The doctors were always fine running around in the regular scrubs.
Because that's all you have. But you know why? I think about it similarly to think about it with guys in basketball, right? Like, their shorts and stuff are a lot looser now than they used to be. They got around either way, right?
Wait, but that's contradicting to what you were saying because
no,
the
I'm not
scrubs
saying
got
the
tighter.
style. Right, but I'm saying they got they were able to move regardless. Like you're saying they were able to move because their stuff was bigger before. Yeah, they're always going to be able to operate. But what I'm saying is, in my opinion, I think about it like if I'm painting.
Okay, the scrubs got tighter, but the shorts in basketball got looser.
I'm not saying that how it works. I'm just saying that they're able to move regardless, whether they're fitted or closed or loose.
Yes.
Right? They're able to move.
But the
I
nurses,
find it to be the same with doctors and nurses, whether it's fitted or it's not. Like old school, you were saying it was looser. Now it's more fitted. I think they're able to move. They're physically able to move regardless. Yes. But I think
because there's people that still wear the old-fashioned scrubs. They
exactly. They still do. I think about it for when I'm painting. It's easier for me. Like I'm cleaner in my movement when my stuff is fitted. If my stuff is looser, I'm making a mess. It's getting everywhere. If my stuff is more fitted, it's less mess. I can operate easier. I don't know. I just
these women are doing it for attention.
And the men aren't.
The men are. They are for attention and for fashion. That's all it is.
Yes.
For fashion and attention.
I don't think it's all for
great
attention.
Fashion gets you attention. Yes or no? There's a term called peacocking. You ever heard of that term?
Yes.
Okay, where you dress a certain way and you
Crocs aren't
behave
cute.
a certain way because you want attention. But
Crocs ain't cute.
but
They
that's
don't wear
the
Crocs.
cap. Because you know what they do now? They put those pins in the Crocs to make them look cute.
They do.
Okay.
They do.
And then they get different colors to match their scrubs and stuff.
True.
Yeah, they're doing the most in there. I seen it with my own two eyes.
You want to look your best. You feel your best. You look your best.
Yeah, especially when you're a nurse and trying to get the doctor to bend you over. And
Wow.
they have a room
or
in the hospital.
Or if you're a nurse or a male nurse, well, that ain't my business.
What, a nurse? A nurse?
Exactly. Male nurse or female nurse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heck, if you're doing it for attention, good luck. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe.
You know, there's a room called the safe panic room in the hospital where the doctors go in and the nurses go in and close the door where they could just chill out in there. So I wonder what they're doing in that safe panic room.
Somebody say it before people start making stuff up.
I wonder what they're doing in that room.
Doctors, nurses, somebody check in and let us know what's happening.
I saw that room and I saw the guy walk in. I didn't see him walk back out, and I was there for at least.
He went to relax, to breathe. I don't know. What was in it? Did you see anything that was in it?
It looked like it was some towels, and there was some shelves, and then he didn't open the door all the way. He just had it cracked a little bit. I
automatically jumped to Grey's Anatomy, but the room I'm thinking of, I doubt is a safe panic room. I think about the little cots where they could take a nap. Or, they just going to take a little coffee break.
Yeah.
Maybe it's safe. Maybe
We all know people.
They're reading.
We all know people have the most affairs at work.
Their Bibles.
And the reason why people have the most affairs at work is because that's where they spend the most time.
That's where they are.
And if someone's trying to talk to somebody, they're gonna have all day when someone at work. And doctors and nurses work 12 hours, 15 hours?
There are many, not all of them, but yes, there are many that have those kind of hours.
Yes, and when they do, they gotta let off that pressure somehow, some way, right?
And so they go into the room and they read while they eat.
Nope. You ever seen the Wolf of Wall Street?
I did.
Okay, and you seen when they went to the bathroom what they were doing, right?
Okay,
yeah,
but
they had to let off that stress.
That ain't
More people do that in real life than you think. Why you think bathrooms at work are always those personal bathrooms that collide?
Because we deserve privacy.
Yeah, and a lot of people masturbate at work on the low.
Well, yeah.
When they
but then
stressed out.
masturbating doesn't do what you're doing it with somebody else. If you masturbating because you just got to get off, that's...
Yeah, but everybody's been working at a workplace where they know at least a few couple of people that's sleeping with each other. At least 2 or 3 couples at every job. Whether they're public couples or private couples.
I haven't worked a full-time job in a long time. Yeah. So I'm going to just say maybe that you're right. But
from the top and
I'm not going to say no names. Lord have mercy. I used to call it the 12th, like the 13th grade. It was like high school. It was terrible.
Why? What were they?
Because it was ratchet. Just, yes. Everybody was messing with each other. There was always some sort of drama. Somebody or something.
Exactly. And
that's not everywhere.
And most of the time, maybe one guy that'd be with 2-3 women at one job.
No, where I was, it was everybody.
Everybody was for everybody?
Everybody was
everybody for everybody. Everybody.
Just take turns.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I used to know about someone like that when I was younger. She used to throw parties in the projects and invite everybody from her job. And then after a while, she would let people pair up. And then the following day or the following weekend, she'll have private parties and have people matched up. Even amount of guys, even amount of girls.
Well, sounds like they was coming. They knew what they was coming for, so...
Yeah, I mean, she had a list.
At that point, you had...
She had a list. She was very professional with it. I'm not going to lie. She had her own routine.
She was organized. I'm not going to say professional, but she was organized.
And she was organized. She used to get rid of all the furniture, make sure everything was clean.
Was she getting paid?
Nah, she wasn't getting paid. Like, some get paid, some do it for free for the thrills. You know how it goes.
Absolutely true.
Yep. She wasn't Haitian. She would have made sure she got paid if she was.
That's my first question. So, is it a business plan? Like she set herself up right? Guess not. Okay. Get tested, guys.
It worked out for her in the end, though.
And for everybody else, did it work too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's not funny, but the way it worked out is one day she was coming out her house and her cousin got hit by cars. And and one of them, you laughing. One of them got hit by a car, flew in the air and landed on the mailbox, and one flew in the air and landed on top of a car in front of her house.
And everybody's okay.
Eventually, yeah. I mean, she got a.
Work out for her. How did we get here?
Oh, she got a nice settlement. Got her body done. Started doing music videos. You know.
Got you. Heard you.
Got better furniture in her project apartment. Yeah, it worked out like that. Yeah, she got herself.
Not what I was expecting.
She got herself a new man after she got herself a new body. Got a new job.
You know me who it is.
Yeah, you know it worked out. You know. You asked how it worked out.
I wasn't expecting. I was. Okay.
Like,
that was a little different than...
Like that escalated kind of quickly.
Yeah. Wish you the best, my dear.
She changed her whole life, man.
Hope you know what? You live your best life.
Yeah. It worked out, you know.
Some way, shape, or form.
Her past was erased.
There it is. That's okay. That circled back around. What you did before didn't matter. Heard you.
Yeah, new body, new life, new me. New life, new me, new money. Everything is new. Like, hey, but you know, those were great memories that I will always have as a child. And you know, shout out to Brooklyn, man.
How many parties you go to?
Of hers? I would say at least 3 or 4. I stopped going after the guy got his face cut in half. That's when I stopped going. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good.
Every time it just keeps taking the turn somewhere.
Yeah, because
that's a good reason to stop going.
Yeah, because one day she invited the whole job, and then she invited the whole projects, and it was too much people. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just stay with my people, because you know I always have my people to make me feel comfortable. So you know we wasn't having it, so we was good. You know we was good. But then all we heard was oh, and then half the dude's face was open, and then I was like, oh, and then he was like, who did that? We gotta go look for him. Like, no, bro, you gotta go to a hospital, bro, because nah. And I was like, oh, nah, bro, you got that $150 like you went to Rikers. Like, you know? So after that, I was like, yeah, I'm not going over there. I'm not going over there no more. Then my other boy that lived in the same neighborhood but down the block, he got hit by a car too in that same neighborhood. And he got sent flying in the air. He had to get his skull stitched up. And I'm like, yo, there's something about those projects that people keep getting hit by cars over there. I'm not going over there, man.
The project, I'm starting this because you got too many examples.
No.
You didn't set nobody up, did you?
Me? No. I went there for pleasure, not for pain. That's why when it was paid, I had to get up out of there. I was like, all right, let me go back to my suburban life and mind my business. Let me stop going to these projects and having pleasure.
Out here in the streets, that's what happens. Stay home, kids.
Yeah. It was a great time. But that was before I had hair on my face. That's how long ago it was. So, but it was a great time. It was a great time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so let's get up out of here. Closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Come to the exhibit.
Tell people when, where, how?
Yes, Saturday, November 4th, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. It is going to be in Queens at I Am Yogi Studios. You guys can check out all of the details at Chocolate Wombs, WOMBS, chocolatewombs.eventbrite.com. You guys can follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, K for Creative Inc. That's K, the number 4, Creative with the K, Inc. And yeah, you guys will find all the details on my page on Eventbrite. And I hope that you guys can make it. It's free, no excuses. And all of my lovely expecting mamas, if you guys are free, the prenatal yoga class is free. Just register on Eventbrite. We'd love to have you.
Why does chocolate womb sound like something tasty and something delicious? Chocolate womb.
Could take that a lot of different ways. I think,
sounds
watch my words here.
It sounds like a dessert.
Some people do think women are a dessert.
Hey.
Chocolate wombs, your womb. Where you have the baby, where the baby grows. Chocolate, black, mocha, melanated.
Whip shots. Okay. So we thank you all for watching. We thank you all for joining. We thank you all for supporting. We thank you for all that you have done for us so far, thus far. Of course, thank my lovely guests for joining today. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
K for Creative Inc. K, the number 4, Creative with the K, Inc. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, I'll be there.
Okay. And also you can follow us on Instagram at therealwordministriesinc.org. That's at The Real Word Ministries Inc. on Instagram, www.therealwordministriesinc.org. Also facebook.com/therealword7. Also, we're on podcasts. Everywhere you can find podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify, and SoundCloud. So we all are there. SoundCloud, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So catch us on there if you rather listen than watch. You can catch us there. So we thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for this great episode once again. You want to close out with a prayer?
Oh my goodness, on the spot.
Oh yeah, on the spot. What you think?
Yeah, sure.
I told you I was gonna put you on the spot.
It's just like that.
Just like
be your
that.
own people.
It be your own people.
Sure. What are you praying for? Anything?
It's up to you. It's up to your discretion.
Sure.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Absolutely. Let's pray. First and foremost, Lord, we give you the glory, the honor, and the praise. Thank you. Thank you for this moment, this opportunity that you saw fit that to be able to guest on the Real Word Ministries for this moment, Father God. Thank you for this ministry. Thank you for all those that are able to tune in, to learn something, to laugh, be educated, to be entertained, Father God. Thank you for Rick. Thank you, Lord, for the purpose that you've placed inside of him, for gifting him, that he'd be able to serve your people in the way it is that you see fit. And Lord, I pray that everything it is that we touch turns to spiritual gold, that we be able to meet and serve the needs of your people, and that they would be fed with whatever it is that you desire for them. We pray this in all things in the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. So shout out to y'all. Shout out y'all for supporting. Good night and God bless y'all. Deuce.
It's the real word. It's the real word. It's the real